Hey guys, what's up? So today I'm going to be talking about the iPadOS 14 beta, which is just landed for public usage, and I've downloaded onto my iPad Pro. So just kind of give you an overview of what it's like, a couple of the new features on there as well, and just a couple of my ideas and thoughts about the state of the iPad at the moment, because in my opinion it's in a bit of an odd little transition place. So first up, it's really stable, like crazy stable. Now I did the iPadOS beta last year as well, and it's one of those things, install it at your own risk. Sometimes they come out and they're really stable to start off with, and then the next update that lands can just absolutely destroy functionality. So far I found no apps that don't work with this, so all of my workflow and everything works perfectly, but I'm sure in the next couple of weeks when the next public beta comes out, it's probably going to kill a few things on there that I need to use, which will drive me mental, but we shall wait and see. As of right now, this beta is working perfectly fine on my iPad Pro 2018, so yeah, really impressed with it so far. So I mentioned at the start of the video that the iPad seems to be in a bit of a weird place, and by that I mean the Worldwide Developers Conference, everything seemed to be getting some pretty big software updates apart from the iPad, and it felt really underwhelming this year, but that's because just a few months ago the iPad got its very own software update, completely outside of the normal sort of upgrade window for software, and it got mouse and cursor support, and it was a pretty major update for an Apple device, and normally that sort of thing is reserved for the Worldwide Developers Conference, so it's in a bit of an odd place at the moment where it seems to be its very own separate device, and it's getting its own software updates, it's getting its own windows of updates and all of that, so it's a bit weird, but again, more on that later. Let's get back to the beta for now. So first up is the home screen, and it's very much the same old iPad home screen that we've always had, only now you've got widgets over here, which are pretty nifty, and I like the idea of them more for the iPhone, just because you can do a little bit more with it. But it is nice to be able to customize it to how you like. The only issue is the widgets are anchored across on the sort of left-hand side of the screen here, and you can't move them over. So if you look at my home screen there, I've got all of this wasted space down here that I wish I could maybe have a few separate widgets, maybe an email widget or something else down there, whereas Apple is insistent that everything is still in this sort of gridlock, and you just can't move the applications around, you can't add widgets to different places. Whether or not that will change in future betas, I doubt it. I think we would have seen a little bit more about it at Worldwide Developers Conference, but you know what, so far I'm pretty impressed with the way the widgets work, especially the sort of slide over one, which you can customize and flick through it so that we've got multiple widgets in one. So far I like them. They seem less impressive on the iPad versus something like the iPhone, because they just didn't exist full stop on the iPhone beforehand, whereas on the iPad we've always had this sort of space here for, well, since iPadOS, which was exclusive to the iPad. So another really nifty little thing is the fact that Siri no longer takes over your whole screen. So if I summon Siri now, it's down in the bottom here, it's just unobtrusive, which is really nice. Only problem is, for example, if I summon Siri, visually it doesn't take over my home screen, but I still can't interact with it unless I want to get rid of Siri. So again, whether or not that's going to be something that gets addressed in future updates, we'll find out, but so far it's looking more like visually it doesn't take over your home screen, but it still does hijack all the touch interface, which is a bit of a pain. So I mentioned that iPadOS didn't really get much love at Worldwide Developers Conference. You might be asking, why not bother downloading the beta for this? Well, the biggest thing for me is I use the Apple Pencil all the time, and it was always a bit of a pain kind of tapping into the sort of like your taskbar and then having to dot in what you're going to look for, which is just, you know, frustrating. Obviously you could tap on the keyboard, you can use the keyboard, and you can sort of do that sort of balancing bit with the Apple Pencil, but you didn't get the swipe keyboard unless you shrunk it, and it was just a bit of a pain to use. However, Apple have now introduced what they're calling Scribble, which basically lets you handwrite into any text input box, like so. Say for example I want to search for something here, I don't know, let's go for Apple. See if it detects my handwriting. Boom, there we go. I can then search for that by tapping on here. That'll then search on it, which is really handy. So it saves me having to put the Apple Pencil down or kind of just tap away on the keyboard, and it just feels really natural. So any way you can enter text onto this, you can just write in that. You can then just scribble that out to delete it like so, and go again. And so far, handwriting recognition seems really good. Boom. Easy as that, which, you know what, I'm really impressed with so far. So the other nice thing that they've done with Scribble is you can now basically, so for example, if we write Apple there, you can treat any hand-drawn text as like a normal text. So for example, I can now select that, for example, like that. And that will then give me the option on there to change things like the colour on the fly without having to erase what I was writing. And another really nifty little thing, if I actually select the whole thing and tap on there, I can then copy that as text. So let's see if it recognises it. Boom, and there we go. I can then paste that as text on there. So let's just try that again. Okay, so let's give that a go with something a little bit longer. So okay, moment of truth, let's see if that works. And then I want to copy all of that, so I can highlight it, copy as text. Okay, now let's see what happens when I try and paste it. I'm testing out handwritten text. Hey, you know what? That worked pretty well. So I really like this feature, and it has existed for quite a while on other apps. So I use GoodNotes all the time, and I absolutely love it for this sort of feature. It's so good when I was in meetings or taking notes or anything like that. I just like to handwrite them. It just makes it so much more natural. But then kind of sending it on to other people, they don't want to see a messy shorn handwriting. But what I could do was highlight everything I'd written down, convert it into text and send it over to them via email. Apple now has this natively built in, so it just takes out the chore of using another application, and I'm really glad to see they're taking this step forward. And so far, it works really well, so I'm pretty impressed with it, and it's definitely worth downloading the beta just for that. So that's pretty much it so far for what I've used on the beta. It's smooth, it's stable, and it offers a few new features, but there's not a massive amount there. And the iPad just feels like it's in this really weird place at the moment. It's one of those things that it's becoming more of a pro device, but it's still missing out on some of that basic functionality. So the one thing that drives me mad to this day is external monitor support. If I plug it in via USB-C, it should just work, but for the most part it doesn't. I get this awful letterboxed image, it looks terrible unless I'm using particular apps. Some apps do it really well, but for the most part it just doesn't work as you'd expect. We've got mouse and cursor support now, so we're getting closer and closer to having a device that could potentially replace something like the MacBook or a laptop, but we're just not there yet. I've got to say though, the fact that Apple Silicon's coming out very soon, it has a massive impact on the future of the iPad, at least in my opinion it does. We're going to start seeing some desktop capable applications coming across to Apple Silicon as they get ported over, and they're going to play nicely with things like the iPad, which opens up the possibility that we're going to start seeing synergy between different applications. As developers bring them across to Apple Silicon, it's just going to work on the iPad and vice versa. So you know what, there will hopefully be some really good stuff coming out for the iPad. We've seen rumours of the mini LED iPad floating around for absolutely ages, and I think the reason why that's going to be coming out as like a Pro iPad is because we're seeing things like Apple Silicon. We're probably going to finally need more hardware from the iPad than what we've got at the moment to take advantage of a lot of those Pro applications. So it's a really interesting future for the iPad alongside Apple and their Macs. So let's see what happens next. It's really one of those things of who knows what's coming next from Apple. They keep it all close to their chest. Obviously there's rumours floating around at the moment about iPhones running macOS and iPads running macOS when you dock it onto the Magic Keyboard. There's going to be shared architecture right across the board with iPhones, iPads and Macs all sharing the same sort of architecture, which will be really interesting because it means that those applications coming across to one should, in theory, work across all of them. With that, hopefully we will start to see devices that resemble each other and just become more and more powerful as the software pushes them. So it's a very exciting time for any Apple fans out there. So far, the beta, you know what, it's addressed a few little issues on there. I just really hope that Apple kind of go the whole hog and turn this into a truly pro device. And you know what, let me do pretty much everything that I want to, that I could do on my MacBook, on my iPad. But who knows what they're going to do next. I guess we'll find out at some point in the future. So obviously, hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and drop any comments you've got down below as well. We'll be bringing you some more Apple related videos in the future along with other awesome content as well. So look forward to seeing you in the future and take care for now. Ta-ra, bye.